to my channel. It's Sandi Clarkson here with you today. I'm sharing a process video for My Creative Scrapbook using the February limited edition kit, which features papers from 49 Market's Birdsong collection, along with some of their ephemera and laser cut bits and Prima Marketing flowers, and so much more. Anyway, here you can see me trimming up the papers that I'm going to use for my layout. I'm taking that navy blue color from the Warbling Trio paper, and I was careful not to get any of the floral part. I just wanted that darker paper to go on the edges of my layout here. I wanted about a 1.5 inch piece for each side on the left and the right. And then in the center, I'm going to be using the peach paper is called Sweet Notes. And I did want to go ahead and leave the pattern that was on the left-hand side of the paper, and I cut away 3 inches of the peach paper. I was trying not to use so much of the designer paper, thinking that, other design team members might be using it, and so I wanted to do something a little different. And I do cover the bird with my elements. I did think in the beginning about using some white gesso and watering it down a little bit and kind of covering that image a little bit. But then, as I was playing around and auditioning all my pieces, I realized, most of my photo layers and my flowers and everything were going to be covering it. And I did want that little green checked strip on the side. And, I wanted some of the leafy elements. Right here, you see me altering the little chipboard piece from the Prima Marketing pack. And I was going to use some gesso, but I was having trouble getting my lid off, and I had my white acrylic paint right there. So I said, well, I'm just going to go ahead and paint the chipboard with white acrylic paint just to give it a coat and give it some tooth. And so I just put a little bit on, and then I dry that up. And then I've taken 2 distressed paints, abandoned coral and saltwater taffy, to see which one might look best for the chipboard. I did choose the abandoned coral, and I do kind of wish I'd gone with the saltwater taffy. I think it would have matched the page, but yet still stood out because it was chipboard and not paper. So, but either one is fine. I do cover this, with a good coverage of the abandoned coral and dry it. Later on in the video, you're going to see me daub the title piece with some more white acrylic paint just to kind of give it a shabbier appearance, because it was just a little bit too bright and too bold. I do right here go ahead and get my dauber and use some more of the abandoned coral paint with the dauber just to give it a little bit of texture versus how it appeared with the just with the paintbrush. So I like the dabbing a little bit better. So I did that real quick, and then it didn't need much to dry, so I went ahead and dried it and then kind of brushed away anything that was, there that didn't need to be. And so I put that away and got my papers back out, and I'm ready to start assembling there. You can see that over to the right hand side, I've got some elements that I thought would work, and I, was just, going to get everything out and kind of, see how things would look. I chose that frame that I had used another one in one of my other layouts, but I really like it. It's a large piece, and it gives the appearance of a lot of layers without there being a lot of layers. And so I use it. I kept the center piece in. You can take that out and use it on another element if you like, but I kept it because I felt like it would just kind of hold my frame together a little bit better. And, I didn't think I was going to be doing it, using it later on. So I went ahead and left it in there. And that's a picture of one of the granddaughters, and she turned 16 this last year and just has her first car. And this picture was taken on the first day of school, with her and one of her friends. And there you see me using one of the 3x4 cards with the little saying on it. I had really hoped to use that on a layout because, I like the paper around it and I like the saying, but I decided that using it here would be helpful because it's got the navy as well as the coral color, in that pattern. And so I thought that would just bring everything together. And then I use, a note card from the ephemera pack, and I use one of the striped frames from the ephemera pack and tuck those into my, photo base. And then I've got a couple of tickets there that I'm trying out that I think to myself, yeah, that'll work. And so I'm ready to commit here and put that layer down, knowing I'm going to have some large flowers over on the left. And, just trying to get that straight. And then I come back with my photograph that I've already got some corrugated cardboard on. And, use some of my Beacons 3-in-1 to adhere that to the mat. And then I take those 2 tickets and I look to see where I think I want them to be. And I glued them versus staple them, which is really my norm, but I went ahead and put them there, and by gluing them, I was able to separate them a little bit, and I like them kind of fanned out like that a little bit better. Anyway, so that worked out well. And then I'm just using my T-square to kind of make sure that my photo is pretty straight. It looks straight, kind of looking at the, being perpendicular to that paper on the left-hand side of it. And then I take that chipboard piece, which is another chipboard piece from the Prima chipboard pack, and it was also altered with just acrylic white paint, and I'm tucking it in with my floral cluster there, just to be kind of a flat layer, but a chipboard layer to go with those 3-dimensional flowers. You can also alter it, with embossing powder. You can use paints and have multiple colors on it. You can use your inks over the white paint if you like. So just however you want to alter it according to your design is perfectly fine. And here I'm using the blue flower, which was from the Prima pack. That was the French Blue collection. And then the other flower, I think that's from the same collection. And I do want to elevate the second floral just so it'll rest against the other one nicely and be just a little bit elevated. So I cover just part of the blue flower, which, in my clusters, I don't want the flowers to be just right butted up to each other. I like them layered over one another, kind of in a cluster. And then, I have some other elements that I'm going to bring in. Ultimately, I use one of the little laser pieces in with the little blue flower and the white flower. And here I'm just auditioning some of the taller laser cut pieces. I thought that the dark coral would be a good color to bring in. And then that teal, I thought that would be really pretty too, to kind of go with the blue jeans that they're wearing. And then those tall pieces come in a variety of sizes in the laser cut. Most of them have like a short, medium, and tall version. And so I'm just kind of playing around with them there, thinking that, the coral looks really good up against the navy. And then the shorter teal piece, I trim it a little bit more, and then I tuck it into my floral cluster there. It's just another way to bring some dimension and texture into that cluster. And then here I've decided to lay those 2 pieces, and then I'm auditioning that there, and then now I'm ready to come back with my glue and glue everything down. That was just to bring in some leafy element to it because there wasn't really any leaves that were going to show from the tall, florals. And there you can see my glue kind of floating across the page. Anyway, so I add my glue, and I come in and I put down the coral one and then the teal one, and then I've got a shorter coral one that I'm going to put there on the side. I do afterwards, off camera, I do put a little bit of foam adhesive underneath a couple of the flowers just to bring up the ones that are on the outer edge of the laser cuts. And that makes them more secure, and it also just kind of elevates them just a little bit. And there I bring in that bird nest on the right hand side and trying to figure out how I want to position that, as well as my title piece, which is going to be the beauty chipboard that we've already seen. And here I'm grabbing a couple more tickets, and I'm going to tuck them into my cluster. And it says, as you look at it, it'll say, this photo. And then I really wanted the beauty to be kind of out a little bit, and the bird nest to be, more toward the photograph, but didn't want them to be, just right in a straight line. I tried to figure out a different way to position the beauty. I thought about putting it vertically along the side of the photograph, but ultimately I just decided to use it horizontally. And there, because I did use my 3-in-1, my flowers are moving around a little bit, so I'm just holding them in place since I put the tickets in. And then here I am coming back with the white acrylic paint and daubing it across the chipboard that's already been altered, just to kind of shabby it up a little bit, because I know I'm going to be doing the same with my florals and other places on the page. So I want it to blend, and also wanted it to be not quite so bright. I just decided that that would be a nice look, and so I daubed that on, and then I used my heat tool to heat it up, and I'm cleaning up my mess too because I didn't want to get it all over my sweatshirt. So anyway, I'm going to be using my art glitter glue to adhere the beauty piece, because it's small and I don't want glue to go everywhere. And then, I just need to be careful with the alignment on it so that it'll be straight. And so I'm not able to use my T-square on this, and so I end up using a branding strip to kind of lay across the page and match it up with the edges of the paper, and that kind of helps reinforce what my eye sees, and knowing that the letters there in the middle are all in alignment. And then I start playing around with that bird nest, and I first put it on corrugated cardboard, and in hindsight, I wish I had. I don't know why I didn't. I think I thought it was a little bit too high, and I was thinking about trimming it down and, tucking it farther into the photo cluster. So I wish I'd put it on the corrugated cardboard because it was a little higher than what the foam squares are going to be. But the foam squares are good and secure, and I do tuck it in right there, and it is shorter than my title piece, so it'll work. And then I have a little bird that I'm going to put on there just to guard the nest, and found a turquoise one that I thought would look good, and it had some branches on it, so I put that on foam squares that I've cut to size, and then I put him right there. And then I bring in a couple of text pieces that are from the ephemera pack, and it says, "The most amazing music fills the air." And so, I used the two of them to say, make up that phrase. And I did distress the edges with some saltwater taffy distress ink. And then I used my art glitter glue to put those in place. And then I am using my T-square to try to line them up. And I fiddle around with that a little bit. I want one to be a little bit farther to the left, and then, the lower one to be a little bit more to the right, just to be pleasing to the eye. And so I check them out, and so we're getting really close to done. I do some things off camera after I discontinue filming. Was just going to add some pearls and maybe some art stones, which I did, but then I decided at the very last minute that I just needed a little something else, and I came in with an old memory box stencil, and I just did some very light stenciling in the upper left corner, in the lower right corner, and a little bit close to my floral cluster. And I'm sorry I didn't get that on camera, but I did have to kind of work around all my already embellished, page. So I did it here, and I was trying to use some longer pieces from the ephemera pack that just weren't fitting, and so I came back with these more swaggy pieces, and I've got two kind of green ones, and one of them I adhere with glue, and the second one I put on a foam square to elevate it a little bit above the other one. All right, so here I've got some more white acrylic paint, and I'm dabbing my flowers and getting them all shabby, and then I dab some white paint on the florals, and on the nest and various places across, and then I cover my photo, and I use the remainder of the white paint, and I splatter it on, thinking that this is going to be all except for my pearls, but like I said, I added pearls and art stones and then a little bit of stenciling. I do appreciate you coming by today. I'll have details below about how to order a kit. We look forward to seeing your work if you would have posted in our Facebook group or tag us on Instagram. Thanks again for coming by. See you next time.